Good morning. Welcome to Unity on the North Shore Sunday Service. Whether you are joining in the sanctuary or joining us virtually on Zoom today, or watching us later on social media, we're glad you're with us. I'm Chitister, your worship assistant today. Today, Reverend Kurt will share the lesson titled, How We Change. Vivian Morrison is our prayer chaplain, and we're blessed to welcome back Felina Brunn and to sing with the incredible Dennis Luxian. We're so grateful that you're here and for their they're here and for their amazing gifts and talent. Now let's just take a moment and pause and get centered. And let's now start with prayer. Holy Presence, we know that in God we never can be separate from love, from truth, from infinite intelligence, and the source of all good. We gather here in this sacred space to open our hearts and minds to the one power and one presence. We gratefully receive the energies of divine light and love pouring in and through us. And we affirm we are here this morning for a divine purpose. We trust that the purpose is now being fulfilled, for we know that we are now in the presence of pure being, immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. And so it is, amen. And now Felina and Dennis will lead our opening song.
There is a space in my heart where I find the truth, I find me and you, a truth beyond what you see now. But when we are one, we bring more good about. No matter who you are or what you call yourself or where you come from, there is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. See with new eyes, allow and unfold, embrace and let go. Trust the flow, there's a freedom and love when you follow your heart. No matter who you are and what you call yourself or where you come from, there's a peace in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. Oh, when we unite. When we unite. Welcome here. Welcome here.
Again, welcome. So glad all of you that are on Zoom with us this morning, wherever you are, and those of everyone in the sanctuary this morning. Welcome to Unity on the North Shore. Unity is a positive, practical approach for spiritual living, based on the teachings of Jesus and the power of prayer. We believe there is truth and beauty in every spiritual tradition, and so we honor the many paths to the one God. Wherever you are on your journey of faith, please know that you are always welcome here. At Unity on the North Shore, our purpose is to create a safe space where people are empowered to take risk and live their deepest truth. We do this in several ways. We act on principles of inclusivity. We encourage creative spiritual exploration. We embrace innovative possibilities, and we collaborate to create community and personal growth. And we live the truth principles. If this is your first Sunday with us, we want to extend a loving welcome. And those of you that have been with us for a long time, we want to welcome everyone that is joining us today. Upon discovering Unity, many of us were surprised to learn there was a spiritual community that thought and believed the same things we did. It felt like coming home. That was certainly the case for Mickey and myself. We hope your experience this morning is equally powerful and that you will return. For those of you in the sanctuary, please complete a guest card in our Welcome Center at the back of the sanctuary so we can further welcome you. So next up, join Felina and Dennis as they lead us in this morning's group song.
Transcending time and space, God in me, God in me, God in me, God.
Thank you, Felina and Dennis. Good morning. My name is Vivian Morrison, and I'm serving as prayer chaplain today. And I want you to just take a moment. The prayer chaplains are at a retreat, and let's send them some light and love and guidance. Let us begin by reflecting on today's daily word. As I read the words you hear spoken, let them become a silent and powerful meditation within you. The daily word for today is guidance. And the affirmation is, I open my heart and mind to receive my guidance. Sometimes I have insisted on figuring things out for myself rather than asking for someone's help. Over the years, I have learned the value of asking for guidance and sharing what I've learned with others. As we exchange ideas, we may tap into a higher wisdom that had not been apparent to either of us alone. This higher wisdom is not outside myself. It is a still, small voice, mine to call upon at any time. I'm always able to ask for guidance, to show me the way. My inner guidance is available by opening my mind and heart in prayer. Then I watch and I listen, remembering that divine guidance may come in a familiar way or perhaps in an unexpected way that will surprise and delight me. Now, as we continue to focus on prayer, I invite you to relax. Close your eyes and focus on your breath. Take a gentle, deep breath in and slowly release it. Relax and let go. Let go of any thoughts of stress as we still our minds and open our hearts. Peacefully resting in the presence of divine spirit within. God is present in and around us and our loved ones, right here and right now, and always. Let us rest in the silence, holding in prayer yourself and your loved ones. Now in the silence. And dear God, during these challenging times, allow the divine presence within all of us to be a greater expression of peace and understanding. As we hold a vision of peace for our country and the world, help us to create a spiritual consciousness of goodwill and harmony. Let's see all people blessed by divine love as we affirm lasting peace among our human family. And so it is, and so we let it be. I now invite you to request a personal prayer. For those who are with us in the sanctuary today, I want to remind you that you can place your prayer request in the boxes in the sanctuary. For those of you online, you may enter prayer requests in the chat box or use our website prayer link, which will also be posted. All prayer requests will be prayed over for 30 days here with our Unity prayer team, and then later they will be sent to Unity Village, and they will be prayed over for another 30 days. And now that we're back in the sanctuary, prayer chaplains will be available after the service at the back of the sanctuary. And now we return to Felina and Dennis.
This is how we change, reimagine, rearrange, see ourselves through others' eyes. I'm sorry. This is how we change, reimagine, rearrange, see ourselves through others' eyes, re-examine, realize This is how we grow. Blossom bursts, melting snow. Find another way to learn. Let the soaring phoenix burn. A hurt, a lie, a kiss, a goodbye. We stretch, we hope, we try. The miracle of intersection. Two hearts meet, both change direction. This is how we change. This is how we change. This is how we change. Reimagine, rearrange, see ourselves through others' eyes, re-examine, realize. This is how we grow. Blossom bursts, melting snow. Find another way to learn. This is how we change.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Felina. So I asked Felina to sing that song. It's from a new series. It's an Apple TV show called Shmigadoon, and it's a parody and a tribute to the grand big theater production musicals of the 40s, and it's really all about how important it is that as we encounter the changes in our lives, that it's not just about sort of dealing with the material aspect of that. You know what, I'm going to back up just a little bit. So the premise of the Shmigadoon Show is that there's this couple that's having some difficulty in their relationship, so they decide they're going to go on a hiking trip. And on this hiking trip, they end up crossing a bridge into a magical land where everything that's happening is happening in the context of one of those big musical shows. So people bust out into song about every little thing. It's really, it's quite hysterical and quite funny. But what happens is over the course of their time, it's 5 or 6, there are 5 or 6 episodes to this show. Over the course of it, what this couple realizes is that the changes that they're looking for in their relationship really have to happen within them first. And it's also interesting because this being set in the 40s, you can imagine that there were all sorts of homophobic and racist kind of attitudes that happened in the moralistic culture of this magical town. And over the course of these few episodes, what we see is that the residents of Shmigadoon are also sort of confronted with change that has to happen from within, right? It's one thing as we move through our life experiences, you know, we could take a new job in Nashville, as Reverend Christina's doing, right? There could be some sort of diagnosis, there could be some difference in relationships. Those are all sort of outer manifestations of change that's happening. But in order for us to be really centered and grounded and coming from a spiritual kind of perspective and dimension, we need to incorporate sort of the internal process of change and transformation that sort of accompanies and goes along with and supports what's happening in the outer. Yeah? So I want to talk this morning about, well, I'm borrowing like 3 qualities, I would say, that I think really support us in moving into a transformative kind of experience as we deal with the changes in our lives. Because Lord knows there's lots of changes happening in this ministry, in our lives, in the globe, in the planet. There's all sorts of changes. And the way that we engage with that from a spiritual perspective is from within. Like to look at what's happening within our own consciousness, our own awareness, our own thinking and believing and feeling, so that we can align that with truth and love. And that way, change becomes actually something that is can be even an enjoyable experience, right? Even the huge changes in our lives can actually be rewarding and joyful and beautiful. So that's kind of where we're headed this morning. The first of the qualities that I want to talk about is this notion of acceptance. So often what happens when we encounter change is it contradicts the way we think it ought to be. It's not the way it's always done. It's not what I'm used to. And so we tend to push back against that. If we can move to a space of acceptance, and not just kind of accepting the reality of what is, but truly accepting it within our own hearts as like aligned with Spirit, aligned with how the world is unfolding, aligned with how God is at work in our lives and in the world. If we can truly come from that level of acceptance, then we can continue to move forward in this transformative experience in a way that's going to be positive and fruitful and productive. Yeah. So, couple biblical examples that we know we've talked about before. The woman who touched the hem, right? This is the woman who had an issue of blood. And we've talked about this before, but the only way that she was able to sort of manifest that beautiful healing was to first shift in her own mind and her own consciousness her beliefs about her worthiness, her beliefs about her capacity to heal, her beliefs about her place in society. All of that she had to have that in place before she could ever be out in that crowd and close enough to Jesus to touch the garment so that her faith could be healed, right? So that's an example of how the transformation happens first within us so that we might then be able to experience it more fully in the outer manifestation of it. Does that make sense? Same thing with the pool at Bethesda, right? Remember Jesus said, pick up your mat and walk. In order for that man to pick up his mat and walk, there had to be a transformation in his own awareness and consciousness about what he was capable of, about what his role in society was, about how he was going to show up differently, right? That had to happen before he would ever have the courage or the willpower to pick up his mat and walk and be healed. So that's the examples of how it happens. It's an inside out kind of a job. It happens within us first. Here's what happens if we don't come from that place of acceptance. This is another biblical example. One of my favorite stories in the Bible is Jonah. And I don't know why, because it's not a fun story at all. Jonah, you'll remember God asked Jonah to go and prophesy to the Ninevites. And Jonah had all sorts of judgments about what the Ninevites were worthy of. And he didn't think much of them. He didn't want to go and help out, so he went the complete opposite direction of Nineveh, as far on the other side of the world as he could go, right? And we know how that went. God caught up with him. He ended up being thrown overboard from the ship he was on and swallowed by a big fish. And then the translation I like is vomited up on the shores of Nineveh. So he ended up right where God wanted him in the first place. And he went and did what he needed to. He did his job. And apparently did it fairly well, because the Ninevites truly changed their ways. They quit their evil ways. But after his prophesying, Jonah went up on a hill to wait, because God had promised that he was going to smite the Ninevites if they didn't change their ways. Jonah's framework was still that judgmental, the Ninevites don't deserve this. Right? Even all the evidence that he had of God's compassion, of God's capacity to be accepting and fulfilling, in his own journey, his own experience, all of that sort of went out the window. And he sat up on the hill under the burning sun, sweating, waiting for the Ninevites to be smited, waiting for God to sort of rain hellfire down on them, right? And the story ends there. That's what I mean by it's not all that happy a story. But that's exactly what happens when we don't come from a place of acceptance. When we stand in a place of judgment about whatever's going on around us, if we judge it wrong, if we're pushing back against it, then we're never going to be able to come from that space where healing really arises, where healing really comes from. So acceptance is the first piece. The next quality that I want to mention also starts with an A, and I got to look at my little cheaty card, is attitude. So the other piece of really being able to stand in a place of transformative energy is to be able to choose the attitude that we hold in regard to whatever the changes are that we're adapting to or that we're coming to. I have a personal example of this. So there is, kind of bouncing all over the place. There's a quote from Viktor Frankl that talks about how important it is that we recognize the moment when we can make a choice about how we're going to show up, a choice that might be different than our emotional pull would be. But in that instant, in that nanosecond between sort of being conscious and aware of what our experience is and being able to choose what the response is going to be, that's where we can really influence attitude in that space. So I like the idea of coming at those spaces from a place of curiosity, right? If we are so convinced that we know exactly how this ought to go down, that our way of thinking about this is the correct way and the only way, if we're so convinced of that, then we're never going to have a space in our hearts to be curious about a different perspective or a different way of being. Yeah? So here's an example of how I was kind of able to use that this week. I wrote about it in my blog. My mom lives on a couple of acres back in Michigan, and her yard is it is soul work for her, mowing the lawn and doing all this stuff. Well, she's got, at the south end of the property, there's a river. And over the last few years, she's been collecting rocks from neighbors and building a stone bank all along that riverbed. And over the summer, that has just completely overgrown. So you couldn't see any of the rocks. It was all kind of hidden and buried. And for some reason, Mom just thought it was so important that that rock bank sort of be freed, be uncovered, be weeded. And so my sister's there, and she spends time with my mom quite a lot, and so understands what's important to my mom. So when I come back and there are little, the honey-do list, there are those kind of things to work on, we're right there to do it. Well, I was in no mood to do this pulling of weeds out of this mucky, murky bank. I just wasn't into it. And I was, through most of the morning, I was cursing and questioning and why, I made a big deal out of the fact that these weeds that had grown up were actually a filtration system, nature's filtration system, so that the rainwater would be cleaned up of any toxins. So it was stupid that we were taking it out. I made a whole big deal out of the fact that the river is going to flood. When it crests, it's going to flood. Now that's going to be washed anyway, so this is just wasted effort. It's going to go away next week anyway. See the judgment that's happening all through this? I had my way, and it was right. And I ended up driving away in that same energy, that same mood. And I got just a few blocks down, and something in me shifted. And the question that came to mind, this is where the curiosity piece, the question was, why is this so important to Mom? Why? What's the difference? And immediately sort of answers started flooding in. And it is that she holds that ground as sacred. Her brother's ashes were scattered there a couple of years ago. She brought those stones in by hand and placed them over a number of years from neighbors. It's soulful, sacred ground for her. And when I could sort of come at it from curiosity and start to see a different perspective, completely changed my attitude about the work that had been done. So I turned around and went back, and there were some limbs that needed to be taken out of a tree that I didn't have time to do, but I made the time. So, it changes how we show up if we can be curious and start to look at another perspective in terms of being able to deal with the kind of changes that are really going to be transformative in scope. Yeah. So the third quality that I want to talk about is the importance of really shared connection as we move through challenges, changes, however you want to regard that. This is another book that I'm sort of using as a piece of this. It's called The Gift of Years by Joan Chitister, Growing Older Gracefully. And my caveat is it's largely written for folks who are past retirement, so I feel like I got a little bit of jump on this, and yet everything in this book is relevant no matter what our ages are, seriously. It's really about, the emphasis is on once we have retired, we move into that space of not having our identities all wrapped up in possessions or building families or careers. Once sort of that is in the past, Chitister says that it's actually a time of immense personal growth. That internal kind of change is happening in older ages, in our older ages, that's the potential that's there. The difficulty is that because this culture is so focused on youth, right? It's all about anti-aging creams. It's all about the new 70 is biking 80 miles and playing 2 rounds of golf. And it's like there's that dynamic has so sort of imbued the culture that the space to really pull back and recognize the internal growth that is possible in older age. And I see this is where I think it doesn't matter old age or not, right? The internal growth that is possible no matter what changes we're dealing with is immense if we can be present to it. And part of that support comes when we're in community with others of like mind. That's what I think is so important about Unity on the North Shore, right? This as a place where those of us who are really interested in growing personally, in digging into our deepest truth, and embodying the principles that Unity teaches of love and compassion and a world that works for all, right? That the way in which we can sort of stay grounded and focused on creating that for ourselves is to be in community, in spiritual community together. And part of that means really recognizing how it is that we're going to be showing up in that community. Here's a quote. "Only one thing is necessary now." She's talking about older ages. I'm saying it doesn't matter what age you are. Only one thing is necessary now. We must choose to begin a new kind of life, related to the past, of course, but free of strictures that bind us to it. We must see what we do in it as good. We must find it life-giving ourselves. We must be a gift to the world some way, somehow, for someone. Unity Prosperity Coaches have been teaching that for decades, right? Since I've been, like, you find what your gift is and you find something that is fulfilling for you and that brings blessing to others. And it actually creates an environment and a consciousness out of which sort of the kind of spiritual transformation that helps us use change productively gets tapped into. So being in sort of spiritual community doesn't even have to be spiritual community. I mean, that's what we do here, but out in our lives, out in the world, being in community and connection with others rather than being isolated is a huge piece of how we stay present to the energies of transformation that will bring forth love and goodness and connection and compassion. Yeah? The example that I'm going to use one more from Ted Lasso. I mentioned that last week. I'm enamored of that show, another Apple Plus show. So Ted Lasso, there's a scene where he is addressing his team. He's a football team, football being soccer because he's in London, right? He's addressing the team after a really tragic loss. And it's probably going to be a determining factor about whether or not they can even continue to play in the same league. So they're sitting in the locker room and they're all just totally dejected. They're really sad and they're really in a down space. And Ted brings 2 pieces of advice. And the first is, go ahead and be sad. You know, this is a sad time. There's nothing we can do. That's part of that's the part of like admitting what's real, right? That's part of accepting what is. Yep, they lost the game. It's a sad thing. And there's going to be a process of moving through that. But it will come to an end, right? And part of how it comes to an end, this is Ted sort of coaching his team as they're sitting in the locker room, as he has them, they're all looking at the floor. And he says, I want you to look up and look around the room. And know that you may be sad, but you're not sad alone. No one in this room is alone. I don't have the quotes exactly right, but basically the essence of it was to be lonely and sad is probably as low as it gets. But to be sad in the company of others who can be supportive and can help to sort of move us through that experience is hugely powerful. And then his other piece of advice is, and this comes from an earlier episode, a player makes a big gaffe out on the field and is really beating himself up about it. And so Ted comes over and he says, do you know the animal that has the shortest memory? You know what that is? Player says, no. It says goldfish. Goldfish doesn't remember anything after the last little like gulp of air, right? He says, now go be a goldfish. So that's, I think, really salient advice when we're moving through any kind of change that we're finding challenging or difficult, is to first sort of get connected with our peeps. Make sure that you've got a support group that you can sort of be present with and be truthful with, and hopefully one of those support groups for you is here at Unity on the North Shore, but hopefully you have others too, because we are social beings. And then the next is, in those places where you're feeling as though you've fallen short, be like a goldfish. Let it go. No need to sort of dwell there, as we can begin to engage in a process of change where we can accept exactly what is, where we can, what was my second one? We can accept what is. I gotta look at my card. Attitude, accept what is, yep. And then choose an attitude that's going to be productive and supportive. And then 3, make sure that you're connected with others who can continue to support and build on the energy that you've got. Yeah. Okay. With that, I'm going to ask Felina and Dennis to prepare us for a time of meditation.
A holy light, there is a light, a holy light, there is a light, a holy light, there is a light that is shining for you, coming in to make it whole. There is shining for you, coming in to make you whole.
And so I invite you to just rest in this energy of light, this energy of wholeness. And begin by just taking a gentle breath in and releasing. And I would invite you to become present to some change that's unfolding in your life experience now. There is only what is. next, I'd ask you or invite you to kind of see what attitude you might be holding, what presumptions you might be making about this change. It's good, it's bad. Should have happened sooner, shouldn't be happening at all. Just see what it is that you're holding. And then I would invite you to be curious. What might be a deeper purpose for this change that's unfolding in my life? What insight might I gain as a result of having moved through this? Can I find a deeper sense of compassion for myself and for others who might be experiencing something similar? And just in being curious and asking deeper questions, notice if your attitude about this change or shift has shifted itself. Next, as you think about this changing circumstance in your life, I'd like you to call to mind your support group. Maybe it's a prayer group here at church. Maybe it's friends you've had for years, since childhood even. Just bring the faces, the voices to mind. And imagine what those voices would be saying to you. Remember, these are supportive voices. These are loving voices. These are voices that arise out of the divine, out of the heart of God. What words of encouragement or comfort would those who support you in moving through change, what would they lend? And as we prepare to bring this time of meditation to an end, before we end, what I would invite you to do is choose an affirmation that emerged or arose or came to mind out of this support group. Could be something as simple as, I'm loved. Could be an attaboy, attagirl. But hold in your heart that thought, that statement as an affirmation. And know and trust that as you move through the coming week, that you can invoke the support of your support group just with this affirmation, this energy of support, and knowing that the change that you engage in has a deeper capacity to reveal the very best in you. And we give thanks for that possibility. Thank you, God, for an ever-evolving awareness of your love expressing in, through, and as each of us. So it is, and so we let it be. Amen. Thank you, Felina. I feel your heart when you sing that. Thank you. So this is the time in our service when we share of our tithes and our offerings, or we receive our tithes and our offerings. Most of you know that Unity on the North Shore is a tithing ministry. That means we give back 10% of all the unrestricted gifts to the organizations and the individuals that support us in living into our deepest truths. So we practice what we preach, which I believe is part of being in that divine flow. So there are a number of ways that you can give. You can text to 815-827-6052. Text the word give. It's real easy to set up an account, and then thereafter, anytime you use that text feature to give, it's really simple. You just put in an amount. You can give online at our website, www.unityns.org. There's a give button, a donate button at the top of every page. Or you can mail a check to the street address here at 3434 Central Street in Evanston, Illinois. So let's just, if you're here in service, there's a basket in the back. We invite you to place your gifts there, sort of in accord with safety precautions and health advisories. We're not passing baskets, so there's a basket at the back that you can drop your gift in as you leave. So with that, I would invite you to just sort of cultivate an energy of gratitude. Cultivate a kind of excitement of knowing that what you give is being returned to you and is actually sort of increasing the flow of good into your lives, into the world, into this ministry, as together we speak our offertory declaration together. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Amen.
More than enough in the universe that you created. There is more than enough on a planet of sacred design. There is more than enough for humanity made in your image. Why would I worry? Why would I doubt? Why would I ever think I go without? Why would I worry? Why would I doubt? Why would I ever think I go without? Your infinite love made me, made everything I see, and all that will ever be is your infinite love. Let the world know the truth, whatever I choose to do. Your infinite love will prove more than enough, more than enough, more than enough.
Thank you so much, Felina. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, live stream team, and thanks to all of you, whether you're here in person or joining us virtually. Your presence and participation have blessed us greatly. We truly appreciate that you chose to join us today. Before we go, we have just a few announcements that I would like to highlight. First, the Garden Chat online is on Mondays at 5 p.m. We make that announcement every Sunday. Host is Sharon Myers. She shares a recipe and leads a brief discussion on today's Sunday service. And there is a registration to receive the Zoom link. I assume that's online. So many beautiful stories were shared. The second announcement is that so many beautiful stories were shared during our Celebrating Words of Wisdom event that Sharon is offering another micro memoir basic workshop starting this Tuesday from 5 to 6:30 p.m. via Zoom. If you've been thinking about writing your life story, but can't quite get your words on paper because it seems too big a project, this class offers a new easy approach. The micro memoir in 2 Tuesdays, you will learn to write up your own life experience as a 600 to 700 word story and have it professionally edited by Sharon as a finished piece for a real result that you can keep, share, or even publish. The fee is $60 for a 2-session course, including a class packet and professionally edited micro memoir. This class is open to all with interest in writing their own story in their own words. No writing background or pre-class work is required. Third, and this is another very important announcement, please join us for the Sacred Listening Circle coming up on September 19th. As we know, Unity on the North Shore is experiencing a period of transition and change. In the midst of a global pandemic, climate change, and social justice issues, we ourselves are considering the sale of our building and moving to a new spiritual home. While change and anxiety are natural parts of our life experience, it is how we navigate and adapt to change that will determine our new future, and certainly Reverend Kurt has been talking about that for the past several Sundays and today. Join Reverend Greg Coles, our Great Lakes Regional Representative, in a sacred time of holding space to presence and giving voice to the feelings and for our spiritual community. Each person will be invited to share from their heart about the changes they are experiencing or would like to see for Unity on the North Shore. All are encouraged to attend, share, and participate. You'll be provided a light lunch for those here at the sanctuary staying for the event, or you can bring your own lunch. And for those of you who prefer meeting from the comfort and safety of your home, or those who aren't available on the 19th, plan to attend a virtual session, also facilitated by Reverend Greg. He will host that on Zoom Wednesday, September 29th at 5:30 p.m. Central Time. We're being asked to register for either the in-person or Zoom listening circles on the homepage, which is www.unityns.org. And the last announcement, Healing the Heart with artist Jerry Lang. It's going to happen Monday through Friday, September 27th through October 1st, from 6 to 8 p.m. during the week, and Saturday, October 2nd, from 12 to 2 p.m. here at Unity on the North Shore. Art has been a conduit of healing since the dawn of humankind. Artist Jerry Lang will share his personal journey of transforming and healing grief through art, and then guide you in a creative experience of imagining and bringing to life your own transforming works of art. You'll have art supplies for painting or drawing, but feel free to bring your own. No ceramics, please. The Monday through Friday sessions will be to explore, share, and create art. We hope you'll invite your friends and family to the Saturday session from noon to 2 p.m. as we exhibit our artworks and share the healing stories. This workshop is free, and you're asked to register online if interested. That's it for the announcements. As you can see, there's a lot happening over the next several months. The best way to stay connected is by subscribing to the weekly e-blast. If you're not already receiving them, subscribe now using the link in the chat stream. And now, Felina and Dennis will lead us in the peace song, followed by Vivian with the prayer of protection.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be, with God as creator. Family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
The light of God surrounds us. I am the light. The love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. Wherever I am, God. I am divine. And so it is. Have a wonderful week. Do you have any closing words, Reverend Kurt?
Thank you. Yeah, so we're having a pizza lunch here for the live stream team. We're going to have plenty of pizza. If you have any interest in pizza or in maybe checking out what live stream service might involve, please stay. We'll have plenty. That's all. That's it. Those of you who are online, thank you. Bless you. Have a great week. And Vivian, as our prayer chaplain on duty today, will be at the back of the service if you would like one-on-one prayer. She is just an amazing consciousness to hold that with you. God bless. Have a good week.